So hope we're all doing well out there. Today I've got a video for you talking about have we hit the bottom of the stock market, and we're going to talk about that. Also, there's a few other things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the likes of Google, we're going to talk about the likes of Supreme, we're going to talk about the Hook Group, earnings coming up this week. We've got a lot of different subjects packed in this video today, so I hope you enjoy it and we'll get started. So S&P 500, I think it's always good to zoom out a little bit. When you zoom out and you look at the S&P 500, it looks like a pretty easy ride, doesn't it? But when you actually look into them points where you look at the dips that were going on through that 2000 to 2002, that tech bubble, unless you were in that, you don't really realise the pain that kind of went on through that time frame. If you look at the 2008 dip, same again, you know, it looks like a little blip, but unless you're in there, you don't really feel the pain that kind of goes on. The CV crash, I mean, that was brutal. It was quick, it was over quick, but I mean, I don't know if any of you guys, I reckon about 50% of you guys were there going through that dip and watching the channel. That was a day where, I mean, the S&P was just down like 5% every single day. It just dropped and dropped and dropped so fast. Obviously, it recovered it very quickly, but through that 2-3 month period of time, wow, it was a very fast, painful dip. And obviously, you can see the new dip in the chart that we have going on, which we're currently going through. And same again, you look at it on a long-term point of view, it doesn't really look that much, but until you actually go through the dips, you realize, okay, it was actually, you know, a pretty painful dip. And at some point, you know, like all of these dips, the 2000 dip, or the tech bubble dip that we had, you know, there were points where people would just think it's going to go worse, or it's going to get worse, and there was a bottom where that was the worst day of that dip, and then we recovered. And same in the 08 situation, there would have been period of time where the S&P were at these sort of levels and people went, oh, it's only going to go lower, but that was the actual bottom, and then it rebound. Same in the CV crash, people saying, well, it's just going to get worse going on here, and obviously there was the bottom and we rebounded. And we have the time here that we're going through where there's going to be a bottom. There's going to be a bottom where the stock market goes, that's the worst of it now, and we go back onto, you know, all-time highs on the S&P 500. And the ultimate question is, when is that day going to come? And the thing you've got to realise is that no one knows when that day is going to happen, but it will happen. And you've also got to realise there's going to be people in that time frame that are just, you know, perma bears, that they're always negative on the market. There's going to be a period at the bottom of that, you know, tech bubble crash that there were people going, oh, don't buy now, it's only going to go lower, and obviously you missed out on, you know, a really good run. There's going to be people in the Great Recession that said, oh, don't buy now, it's only going to get worse, and obviously that was a very good time to be buying, and they made a lot of money. And I remember people on YouTube comments in the CV crash, you know, around that March time, April time, that were saying, oh, it's a fake rally, you know, don't buy now, it's a fake rally, it's going to go lower. And obviously we went on a massive run, and right now you look at the exact same thing that's kind of going on, and there's people that are in the comment section that are saying, oh, this isn't the bottom, it's only going to go lower. It could go lower, but what happens if it's the bottom? Nobody knows. And the ultimate thing that I thought about is that at some point we're going to have a bottom in the stock market. We just don't know when. And the only thing you can do is very well position yourself that if we do hit the bottom, you've capitalised on the opportunity, I guess, which I thought I'd start off by saying. Now, next thing, is this the bottom of the stock market? Well, the S&P had a little bit of a choppy time through the February, March. There was some good opportunities out there only a month ago. The stocks kind of gave the gains back through the start of the year, but the stock market has begun to rally again. The stock market, or the S&P 500, is up 8% again year to date, which is obviously a very good year. I think if many of you guys remember, at the start of the year I gave my predictions for the stock market, and I thought the S&P would return somewhere between 15 to 20%. That was my estimate, and I still think that will happen. I think we could have a good year as inflation kind of comes down, and then hopefully, not guaranteed, but the Fed kind of calm down on the interest rates. That's the one that I'm a little bit more unsure on. But one of the reasons why I had a bit of optimism coming into this year is the peaking in inflation. Now, most of you guys know June time last year is when we got the peak of inflation. You can see here, this is when we had a 9.1 in inflation. And if we do actually look at that time frame and we go to around about June time, which would have been around the 10th, 17th of June, potentially, when that would have come out. I haven't got the information on hand here, but let's just say it's the 10th of June, then the stock market is currently up 6% since that time frame. And if we look at the 17th of June, the stock market is up 12%, or nearly 13% from that time frame. Now, one of the reasons why I had the confidence is I was looking at history. I like looking at history. I like looking at history in the stock market and what happened last time this happened. This is what I'm not a big fan of technical analysts of saying, oh, this stock is going, it's gone up this much, it's going to carry on here, or look at the trend line and drawing those lines. I'm not a big fan of that, but I'm a big fan of history. I like looking at what has happened previously in the stock market when this situation's happened, and that gives me a good idea of, well, it's not guaranteed to happen, but this happened last time. I'm a big fan of knowing what's happened historically in the stock market. Historically in the stock market, when inflation has peaked, or following the 13 major inflation peaks, obviously this is currently one that we're going on, in the next 12 months that have followed, the average return of the S&P 500 has been 13%. I like information like that. I like seeing that when inflation peaks, historically it's proven to be very good for the stock market. And that makes sense. It makes sense that inflation has gone on a run, it peaks, and you have a good run after the inflation. And you can see the average return is around 13%. So when I look at the S&P 500 now, and we just talked about, well, inflation peaked in June. When we look at the S&P 500, and we just talked about here, if we were to take the 17th of June, which we just talked about, the stock market is up nearly 13%. Historically, it's all tying together, and that's one of the reasons why I had a little bit of confidence that we're going to have a good year this year. Now, obviously, there's still another 2 months until we get to 12 months since June, since inflation peaked, but I thought that was a very good positive and kind of suggests once again that inflation is moving in a very good direction. Now, obviously, we're still nowhere near all-time highs on the S&P 500. I think it'll be maybe a little bit longer before we still see us pushing the all-time highs in the S&P 500. I think we do need to see what the Fed kind of doing and interest rates coming down, and we do need to see a stronger rebound in earnings for that to happen. But I think everything that has been lining up has been very positive for the market, and it's we've seen that started to get reflected. And I think also what's helped in the last month is that we've had a 5% rally. I think the 5% rally has come off the recent inflation data. I think I made a video a week or 2 weeks ago saying that this is massive for the stock market. You know, we were expecting 5.8 and we've gone all the way down to 5. And I said that we could see the market really rally off this news when we get this data, and that's what's happened. We had the market rally, and I think that was another obvious one that was going to happen. So yeah, I think overall, like when you look at your portfolios at the moment, you can see the S&P is ticking up. I've looked at my portfolio, I can see a lot of stocks are ticking up nicely in the background, and one of the big things that has also changed is the dollar. If you look at what we were talking about in the back end of the year, when you look at the dollar to the sterling, for example, we were talking about companies were saying how much the FX impact is hurting them and how much that was actually propping up some accounts with having dollars held in your account. Now that's totally reversed, as you can see here. So that's a change from where we were at the back end of the year. And also, them dollars that you've had in your account have been propping up. Unfortunately, they've been weakening. So this is also a time frame where, for me personally, I'm seeing my investing account ticking up nicely, and this is also when you consider the weakening in the dollar, for example. And if it wasn't for that, it would probably be an even better situation as well, which is something to make a note of anyway. Now, getting on some individual stocks and potentially what's going on with them. So Google had a bit of a weak day yesterday. It was down 2%, where it was a decent day in the market. Now, there was news coming out that Samsung are consider switching its devices to Bing. Now, I always think of this, and it's the same with like Apple. Obviously, Apple have Safari on all their devices. I saw someone the other day, and I was watching a YouTube video, and they were setting up a computer, and they got it all set up, and they made the comment of, and now we're going to do what you do every time you get a new computer or a new laptop. The first thing you download is Google Chrome, and I thought that's so true. Like even on Apple, like I got an Apple a new Apple MacBook, not this year, the year before, and like the first thing I did was like get Google Chrome. Like even though it wasn't on the device, one of the straight things I'm getting Google downloaded, and it shows you like it's still, even if it's not on the devices, it's still not a big issue. And once again, it seems like a big massive overreaction to this kind of. I was looking at this report, and once again, it was mentioned about the AI, and I still can't believe people think Google are going to sit on their hands and not develop an AI with the balance sheet they have and the lead that they have, and if a threat comes into the space, like, they will develop it. They've already got it, and sooner rather than later, Google will respond to that. And it just seems, once again, I don't know what it is, but there just seems some massively overblown stories about Google going on at the moment. And last time something like this happened was the whole AI situation, and it gave you opportunity to buy like shares in the $90 range, and I was like, it's just absolutely crazy. Like, there's just a hype at the moment about AI and stuff like this going on that's just stupid negativity that's created in the markets. That is a massive overreaction, and all it does is create a buying opportunity. So once again, I think we could be staring at something where Google creates a buying opportunity back at that $90 range, and if it creates it, I wouldn't mind buying it. I was buying quite heavy in that $90 range. I didn't buy as many shares as I would want to. I tried my best, but it was just more capital, getting the capital to go buy them. But I did buy as much as I can in that $90 range. And if we're going to have a stupid overreaction on Google share price again, and it goes to that $90 range, all because of this, I will buy it. And this is just future me adding a little bit of a part into this video that I probably should have added in as well. Is another point I wanted to make is about Google and Samsung, is that the partnership is up for renewal, and we know the likes of Google have to pay Apple for it, and Samsung for them to be the default browser when you go on the phones, for example, and the contract's up for renewal. This is 100% as well a part of the Apple, Samsung, for example, just wanting to drag the more money out from Google. It's just part of the games. It's part of the negotiating games that's going on here. From the user's point of view, from Samsung and from Apple, they probably still want to have users to have the default access to Google. And if it isn't that, users are probably just going to change to Google anyway, or go on and save Google as the default browser. So this is part of just the negotiation game going on. And once again, it's just massively blown out proportion, just to create some fear and uncertainty out there. In my opinion, it's something that will be resolved going forward, because I think it will be right for Samsung, it'd be the right thing for Google for it to be resolved, and it just seems a little bit of games kind of going on at the moment. So yeah, absolutely crazy. Next one, 2 UK companies coming up for you guys. Supreme. So I've been tracking this one for a while. It was actually down at the 70p range not so long ago, which is absolutely crazy. Been on a bit of a run since, and actually yesterday it brought out some trading update. The trading update sent the stock up over 10%, and the trading update was really strong. If you look at the trading update, the outlook was higher than expected, revenue was higher than expected, and the vaping growth inside this company is massive. And a lot of it's from the UK vaping side of it, and I've one that I've been really interested in, but I've also been weighing up the risk of the UK vaping market, and what would happen about regulation. I'm looking at this company and how fast it's growing, and looking at the valuation, going, it's massively disconnected. Like, this company that's growing at these rates should be a lot higher valued, and I always put it down to the vaping risk. And then I don't know if you saw the other week, I should have got the article about it, but the government are now actually funding smokers to actually switch to vaping rather than smoking, in hoping that that's going to help health costs further down the line. Obviously, smoking and the effects that it has on your body, and it can obviously create illness. And to try avoid that, try move to vaping, which, even though there's not much data on it, is at the moment viewed as being a healthier option than actually smoking. And the government's actually paying for people to vape rather than smoke. And I was looking at that thinking, my big risk was that the government are going to maybe be a bit tighter on the regulation of vaping. And then I couldn't believe that they are now actually funding smokers to switch to vaping. I was like, my biggest risk has just gone from a bear case to this stock onto a bull case of this stock. Like, I couldn't believe it. So I was looking at this one, I was thinking that's massively changed in the last week. I was looking at the trading update, going, this company's far ahead of expectations, and 12 times earnings. I was like, this is going on a watch list. This is one that I'm massively keeping an eye on. So they reported earnings out, and go check them out, because I thought this was one to be slapping onto a watch list for sure. Next one, the Hook Group. So we've covered this a couple of times on the YouTube channel. Every so often people ask me for a little bit of an update into this business. It's an interesting one. I think that it's one that has had a few problems. I think the management team, I think, is it Matt Moulding? Is it? I know it's Matt something. I've got Moulding in my head. I think that might be the CEO and founder. Obviously, he's not done the best of jobs of managing the company on the market. He's done decisions that maybe not been in the best shareholder interest, and the market has kind of took it as a stock that's very controversial, and the markets are not big fans of this company, and that's what's put me off it, is that I don't really want to get another stock in my portfolio that's kind of got controversy around it. I've got a couple of UK stocks like Boohoo, for example, that already have that, where the media and the markets are quite negative on the companies. It's just the way that it's been, and that's probably one of the reasons why I feel like the share price has gone. Even though they've had issues, I think it went way below than what it should have done. You know, you're talking 52-week low of 31p, just because of that. And I think it has been an opportunity, but I could never pull the trigger just because of the negativity and the controversy that does follow around the stock. And it's very clear, even if you go on like forums talking about stock. I mean, look here, that like in the chat at the moment on the LSE, there's 381 posts about it, and I can tell you in the post there's half they're positive on the stock and half they're negative on the stock. So it's been very controversial. So I mean, I've always thought it's been good value, but I've never been one to buy it. Anyway, they did have a big jump up on the share price yesterday, as you can see here. Today actually it's down a little bit. It's down 9% today, and actually they have brought out their financial year 2022 preliminary results and Q1 23 trading update. So that's probably one of the ways that it's moving on the share price at the moment. But apart from that, it did have a jump up yesterday of over 40%. Now, the news is that potentially that someone is looking, or Apollo are going to be placing a takeover bid for the Hut Group, which does make sense for someone to come buy this company at the moment and take it away, because it is at a cheap valuation. And with the negativity that's just keep pressing down on the stock, it would maybe make sense for the company to take itself off the markets. And there is a lot of, you know, cheap UK opportunities out there. It's not the only one that you look at and think at the moment like it's primed for a takeover bid. So yeah, I mean, overall, obviously the shares went absolutely crazy. Looking at the actual, there's no concrete offer yet. They're just kind of discussing numbers by the sounds of it, and because of the way that regulation works in the UK, if you do start entering a little bit of discussions on takeovers, you do have to announce that, compared to the US. The US, you can all of a sudden, there's the news out there like, oh, so and so is getting acquired by this company, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Where in the US, in the UK side of it, any early kind of talks have to be announced, basically. So yeah, obviously this has been announced really early. There's still a high chance this could fall through, which is probably key to say. And obviously the shares surging 40% was a bit of a surprise to me. Obviously, the reason why the shares have surged so much, or go up 40%, is all these people that bought here are basically gambling. I can make easy money. I buy this stock, I'm going to make easy money because takeover is going to happen. Obviously, it's a risky strategy, because if it doesn't go through, then all these people are going to be going, oh, well, that didn't happen, and I don't want to hold the company, so I'm going to have to sell out now. So those are the people that are kind of chasing, you know, an acquisition basically. And my thoughts were, is when the stock went up 40% on the day, like before this was announced, the shares were like 66p. I thought, for me, like, how much of a premium are they going to pay on this company? Like, they're not going to be paying, I mean, all these people that bought the IPO at like £7, £6. I mean, a lot of them guys aren't getting the money back, and obviously they're not going to be happy with the takeover happening as well. But what offer would they realistically accept for the Hut Group? Now, personally, for me, I can't see them getting anywhere above 2022 prices. I can't see them even touching the £2 range, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe I would say £1.50 max is what they would get for the company. But realistically, I can only see maybe £1 being what they actually purchased the company for. I don't know. Like, I think I would be one of those that if I had a good average and I had been buying in this time frame, you know, 40, 30p, even 50p. If I got offered yesterday what the stock went up to, which is, you know, around about 90, 95p, if I was in them sort of ranges, I'd be thinking, you know, not a concrete bid. I can't see more than a £1 premium being paid potentially. I would have been tempted to run from this company here, but we'll see what happens with the story. I mean, there's still a lot of developing things that can happen here. So one to track, but not much more than that for me. I'll watch from the sidelines and see what happens. And hopefully that you guys are in, if you do have shares in the company, hopefully you get the outcome that you want and you make money anyway. And that leaves us with earnings this week. We've got the start of earnings season, the first proper full week of earnings season. Some interesting companies reporting: J&J, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. We've got a few of the bank companies that have reported already. JP Morgan earnings were very strong. Netflix, that's one that moves big time. So we'll see what's going on there with Netflix. Obviously, that was crazy low at the start of this year or the back end of 2020. I can't remember when it was, but that obviously went to crazy low valuations. ASML, a lot of people like this stock. A company with a very good track record of profit and revenue growth. Only question would be around the valuation, but I can understand why a lot of people follow that one. Tesla, I think everyone's looking forward to Tesla. I always try and make a Tesla video on earnings, but generally, like, the views that the Tesla videos get are terrible, so I'm not going to be doing that one. I think maybe just because there's so many people that basically, make Tesla videos at least once a week or even more than once a week. Potentially they get a lot of the attention on the Tesla's videos rather than me that kind of only makes one every so often. That I think most of the people that maybe follow my channel have not really much interest in Tesla or don't own Tesla. I know a few of you guys do, but we'll see if we can maybe squeeze it in a video somewhere. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring out on the earnings. Obviously, gross margins, how much are they getting impacted? Obviously, they'll be talking about the price cuts. but obviously I'll be watching that one on the sidelines and not a Tesla shareholder. So we'll see what happens there. TSMC, a few people interested in that one. I was saying that though, that I think a few people are interested in that because Warren Buffett started buying, but I think he has got reduced his stake, maybe even exited the company. I can't remember fully now. So obviously that's had a bit of a change around. And a few companies reporting earnings like P&G, for example, AT&T, that a few people might track. But obviously the start of earnings season, and then obviously next week is where we'll start to really start to pick up on earnings season, and we'll start getting a lot of companies. That's where it gets really busy. So hope you enjoyed the video anyway, guys. I think this was a bit of a long one, so but I tried to pack in a few subjects for you guys and cover a few things that maybe wanted covering anyway. So hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and as always, if you could hit that like button, it helps the video out and the channel out massively as well. And catch you in a bit.